There is a law that governs all prosperity, and it is the law of divine supply. This law is not created by man, nor can man destroy it. It is eternal, unshakable, and universal. It is the truth that behind every visible need, there is an invisible source already prepared. The world may show lack, but spirit shows fullness. What the eyes cannot see, the soul can feel, an inexhaustible storehouse of every good thing. The law of supply declares that what you seek is already present, waiting for your recognition. It does not need to be created, it exists. Just as the air surrounds you before you draw breath, so does supply surround you before you ask. The universe was finished and complete before you arrived, and everything necessary for your journey was already placed in readiness. The birds do not struggle to find food, the lilies do not toil to grow, and yet they are fed and clothed with beauty. If creation cares for the smallest creatures, how much more is prepared for you? The invisible bank of God is always full. It does not shrink when you withdraw, nor does it falter in times of crisis. Its storehouses cannot be emptied, for they flow from an eternal source. You are never truly facing poverty. You are only facing a belief in poverty. Lack is not real in spirit, it is a shadow cast by fear. The moment you turn to the light of truth, the shadow disappears. This law of supply is not dependent on your background, your education, or your circumstances. It is dependent on your recognition of it. What you recognize, you realize. What you believe, you receive. When you align yourself with the truth that supply is infinite, doors open where there were walls. Opportunities appear where there was emptiness. Provision arrives in the most unexpected ways, because spirit is not bound to channels. It creates new channels. Think of the ocean. No matter how much water you take from it, the tide returns again and again. No bucket could ever empty it. So it is with the divine supply. You cannot deplete it by drawing from it. You cannot diminish it by asking for more. The more you draw, the more it flows, for this is the nature of spirit. Ever giving, ever replenishing, never exhausted. The problem lies not in the supply, but in the consciousness of the receiver. Many people live as though the treasury of heaven is locked against them. They beg, they worry, they complain, believing that their provision is uncertain. Yet the bank is not locked, it is wide open. The key is recognition and faith. Once you understand that you are heir to an invisible inheritance, your hands stop clutching, your heart stops fearing, and your words begin to align with truth. The law of supply requires that you see beyond appearances. Appearances may show an empty purse, but the law says, there is fullness awaiting. Appearances may show no opportunity, but the law says, the door is already open. To focus on appearances is to live in illusion. To focus on truth is to live in manifestation. You cannot serve two masters. You either serve the appearance of lack or the truth of abundance. Whichever you serve will rule your life. Imagine standing in a vast field of ripe grain. The harvest stretches as far as the eye can see, golden and ready. Yet if you close your eyes and declare, there is no food for me, you may starve in the midst of plenty. The harvest is there, but your blindness prevents you from reaping it. So it is with the invisible supply. It is already around you, but your words and thoughts must open your eyes to see it. The law of supply is not activated by fear. Fear shuts the door. Fear says, there is not enough. Faith says, my supply is endless. The universe responds not to fear, but to faith. As long as you believe in shortage, you experience shortage. The moment you believe in sufficiency, sufficiency flows to you. It may come through work, through gifts, through unexpected channels, through open doors you never imagined. but it will come, for spirit cannot be mocked. Your task is not to create supply but to claim it. You do not have to build the treasury. It is already built. You do not have to beg the universe. It has already said yes. You must simply align with the law, declare your inheritance, and step into the flow. Speak the truth with boldness. I live in a universe of abundance. All that I need is mine now. Supply is endless, and it flows to me in perfect ways. When you speak such words with conviction, you are writing a check against the invisible bank of God, and that check will never bounce. Remember, this poverty is a state of mind, abundance is a state of mind, and both manifest in outward form. Choose today which state you will dwell in. The law of supply waits for your choice. If you choose abundance, abundance is what you shall have. If you choose lack, lack will appear, though it was never real. The power rests in your recognition. Therefore, walk in assurance. The invisible bank is open. Its treasures are endless. Its supply is eternal. You cannot exhaust it, you cannot limit it, you cannot be cut off from it. You are connected to it by divine right, and nothing can separate you from it, except your own disbelief. The law of supply is your guarantee that every need will be met, every prayer answered, every desire fulfilled, when spoken in faith and aligned with truth. Live in this awareness, and you will never fear lack again. You will rise each morning knowing your account is full, your inheritance is secure, and your provision is guaranteed. Truly, the law of supply is the law of freedom. In the invisible bank of God, words are the currency. Just as coins and notes circulate in the markets of the world, words circulate in the market of spirit. Every word carries weight, every word carries value, and every word makes an impression on the invisible substance from which your life is formed. With careless words, you spend recklessly. With faithful words, you invest wisely. The law is simple: what you speak, you spend. What you declare, you deposit. What you affirm, you release. Many people do not realize the power resting on their own tongues. They speak of lack, and then wonder why their lives show shortage. They declare sickness, and wonder why health escapes them. They complain of struggle, and then see doors close before them. Words are not empty sounds, they are living forces. They shape your account in the invisible bank, creating credits or debts according to their tone. Words of fear are withdrawals, draining the account. Words of faith are deposits, adding to the balance. Imagine walking into a great bank with a check in hand. The teller looks at it and says, "This is unsigned. I cannot cash it." Your words are like that check. Until they are spoken with conviction, they carry no power. Idle words, careless words, fearful words, they are blank slips with no authority. But when you speak with belief, when you declare with certainty, your words become living currency. Heaven recognizes the signature of faith and releases supply. The ancient wisdom has always said it plainly: life and death are in the power of the tongue. This is no metaphor, it is law. Words of life bring life. Words of death bring death. Each word sets in motion a chain of events, unseen at first but visible in time. Speak abundance, and abundance begins to move toward you. Speak lack, and lack answers your call. The invisible bank does not argue, it simply honors the currency you hand it. Let me give you an image. A farmer holds in his hand a bag of seeds. If he scatters thorn seeds, he cannot expect wheat to rise. If he plants wheat, he cannot expect thorns. The earth is neutral. It will grow whatever is planted. So it is with your words. The soil of spirit does not choose for you, it simply brings forth after its kind. If your words are filled with complaint, the soil produces more to complain about. If your words are filled with thanksgiving, the soil multiplies your blessings. Words are seeds, and harvests never fail. Many keep their accounts empty by constantly speaking lack. They say, "I never have enough. Nothing works out for me. Money is hard to come by." These words are like checks that bounce. Worthless, dishonored, leaving the account in deficit. But when you say, "I always have enough. Everything I need comes to me at the right time. My supply is secure," those words credit your account with abundance. The invisible bank hears your affirmation and rushes to manifest it. Some may say, "But I spoke abundance and nothing changed." The truth is that words must be consistent. A farmer does not plant one seed and expect a field overnight. He sows and continues to sow. He waters, he waits, he tends the soil. So must you with your words. Speak them daily, water them with faith, and refuse to dig them up with doubt. In time, the harvest is sure. Your account grows with every faithful declaration, and soon the outward signs begin to appear. Guard your tongue, for it is the gatekeeper of your account. Idle gossip, bitter complaints, fearful predictions, these are thieves of prosperity. They drain what you have deposited with words of truth. If you speak faith in the morning and fear in the evening, you cancel your own transaction. You must be single-minded. You must choose to let your tongue agree with spirit and not with appearances. One of the greatest shifts you can make in life is to treat your words as sacred currency. You would not throw coins into the gutter, nor would you rip up your own paycheck. Yet many do this daily with their speech. They spend their words on worry, on anger, on doubt. Then they wonder why their invisible account seems empty. Begin today to treasure your words. Let each one be a conscious investment in abundance, in health, in peace, in joy. This is why affirmations are powerful. They are not wishful thinking, but spiritual deposits. When you declare, "All that is mine by divine right now flows to me," you write a check against your heavenly account. When you say, "I live in a universe of endless supply," you hand over currency that spirit honors. Speak boldly. Speak with certainty. Speak with joy, knowing that each word builds your fortune in the unseen realm. You must also remember silence is better than fear-filled speech. If you cannot yet speak faith, hold your tongue until you can. A closed mouth keeps the account safe. But when you are ready to speak, let your words be filled with power. Let them be wrapped in gratitude, charged with expectation, and released with joy. Words are your spiritual wealth. With them you build, with them you destroy. With them you open doors, with them you close them. Every promise of prosperity waits for your voice to release it. The invisible bank is ready, but the currency it accepts is your words. Do not speak carelessly. Do not speak in doubt. Every syllable is an act of creation. So begin this practice today. Deposit daily into your account. Declare abundance every morning. Speak provision over every need. Bless your affairs, bless your work. Bless your life with the currency of faith-filled words. As you do, your invisible balance grows, and in time, the invisible will clothe itself in the visible. Remember, words are not cheap. They are priceless. They carry the power of life itself. Treat them as gold, spend them as treasure, invest them with care. The invisible bank of God honors only one currency, and that currency is the word spoken in faith. Fill your account daily, and you will never know poverty again. A check without a signature is nothing more than a piece of paper. It may look official, it may have numbers written on it, it may even bear the seal of a bank, but unless it is signed, it carries no authority. The teller will slide it back across the counter and say, "This cannot be cashed." So it is with your words. They may sound beautiful, They may be spoken loudly, they may even be repeated daily, but without faith, they remain unsigned checks. They are not honored in the invisible bank. Faith is the signature that gives your words validity. Faith is what turns an empty declaration into a binding request. Faith is the unseen ink that writes your name on the check of spirit, guaranteeing that what you have spoken will be honored. Without it, even the most eloquent affirmation falls flat. With it, even the simplest phrase carries the weight of heaven. Many people speak words of abundance, yet they doubt in their hearts. They say, "I am prosperous. I am supplied." But their inner voice whispers, "This is not true." And so the words return void, for the invisible bank does not respond to doubt. It responds only to faith. The signature must be genuine, not forged. You cannot trick the universe by speaking one thing while believing another. Faith must align with words, or the transaction is denied. Faith is not mere wishing. It is not hope tinged with fear. It is certainty, conviction, confidence that the invisible is more real than the visible. Faith says, "Though my purse may be empty, my account in heaven is full." Faith says, "Though I see no door open, the way is already prepared." Faith says, "Though the harvest has not yet risen, the seed is already growing." Faith signs its name boldly, without hesitation, because it knows that the supply is guaranteed. Think of the farmer once more. He plants seeds into the dark soil, with no proof of what lies beneath. He cannot see roots forming, he cannot measure the life stirring under the ground. Yet he waters. He waits, he works, because he believes in the process. That belief is his faith. Without it, he would never plant at all. Faith is the invisible contract between the seed and the harvest. So it is with your words. You plant them into the soil of spirit, and faith signs the agreement that ensures the harvest will come. Faith is not passive. It does not sit idly, hoping something might happen. Faith acts as though it is already done. If you believe the check will be honored, you carry yourself differently. You walk with assurance. You live in expectancy. You give thanks before the supply even appears. You do not question the bank. You trust its guarantee. Likewise, when you sign your words with faith, you live in the joy of answered prayer long before the evidence arrives. The invisible bank never dishonors a signed check. If the signature is true faith, the supply must come. It may come through ordinary channels or through extraordinary ones. It may arrive at the last hour or sooner than expected. But it cannot fail, because faith binds spirit to action. Fear loosens the bond, doubt tears it apart, but faith seals it with authority. This is why fear is the greatest thief of prosperity. Fear whispers, "What if it doesn't happen?" Doubt asks, "How could this ever be possible?" Both are counterfeit signatures, scribbles that carry no power. When fear signs the check, the invisible bank will not cash it. When doubt signs, it is returned unpaid. But when faith signs, heaven itself guarantees the transaction. Now, faith is not something you must strain to create. It is already within you, waiting to be exercised. Each person has been given a measure of faith, like a muscle that grows with use. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. Begin with small checks. Declare small things with faith, and watch them manifest. As each one is honored, your confidence grows, and soon you sign larger requests with ease. Remember also that faith is strengthened by gratitude. When you give thanks in advance, you are declaring that the transaction is complete. Gratitude is the stamp upon the signed check, sealing it with joy. A grateful heart is a faithful heart, for it already sees the invisible supply as present. Give thanks for what you have spoken, and the universe rushes to fulfill it. Faith also refuses to be shaken by appearances. Appearances may say, "The account is empty." Faith replies, "The treasury is full." Appearances may shout, "There is no way." Faith declares, "A way is already prepared." Appearances may insist, "The harvest has failed." Faith proclaims, "The harvest is certain." The eyes may see lack, but faith sees abundance. The ears may hear bad news, but faith hears the voice of truth. Faith is blind to fear and deaf to doubt. It sees only the promise of supply. You may wonder, how do I know if my words are signed with faith? The answer is simple. Look to your emotions. If you speak abundance and feel peace, the signature is true. If you speak supply and feel joy, the ink is genuine. But if you speak prosperity and feel fear, the signature is shaky. Align your feelings with your words, and faith will flow naturally. Faith is the hand that reaches into the invisible bank and draws forth treasures. Faith is the key that unlocks the vault of spirit. Faith is the seal of authenticity on every word you speak. Without it, you are merely uttering sounds. With it, you are writing divine checks that must be honored. Therefore, nurture your faith. Feed it with truth, strengthen it with gratitude, exercise it with daily practice. Do not let fear sign your words, nor allow doubt to counterfeit your request. Sign every declaration with bold confidence, knowing that the invisible bank never fails a faithful transaction. Live in this assurance your words are powerful, but faith makes them unstoppable. Speak boldly, believe firmly, and know that every check signed in faith is already honored in heaven. The invisible bank is ready, and your signature of faith is the key that unlocks its endless supply. In the invisible bank of God, there is no hoarding, no stagnation, no clutching in fear. The law that governs this bank is the law of circulation. Just as blood must flow through the body to give it life, so must supply flow through your life to keep prosperity alive. When you give freely, when you release without fear, you keep the divine current moving. But when you hold tightly, when you cling in worry, you dam the river and cut yourself off from the very flow that sustains you. Circulation is the heartbeat of abundance. Look at nature, and you will see this truth written everywhere. The oceans rise as vapor, fall as rain, flow as rivers, and return again to the sea. The trees give out oxygen and receive carbon dioxide in return. The farmer sows seed, reaps harvest, and sows again. Nothing in nature is hoarded. Nothing is kept in fearful storage. Everything circulates, and in that circulation there is life. So it is with your prosperity. Money, blessings, ideas, and opportunities are not meant to be locked away in fear. They are meant to flow. When you release with joy, more comes to replace it. When you share generously, your storehouse fills again. When you trust the current, you discover that it never runs dry. The invisible bank does not reward fear-driven hoarding. It rewards fearless giving. Picture a river. When it flows freely, the water is fresh, alive, and full of power. But when it is dammed and held still, it grows stagnant, lifeless, and fall. The same is true of your supply. If you let it circulate, give, receive, bless, and release, it stays fresh, multiplying as it moves. But if you hoard it in fear, it loses vitality and diminishes. Circulation ensures life, stagnation invites decay. The law of circulation says, what you send out returns multiplied. This is not loss, it is investment. When you give, you are not reducing your store, you are planting seed. Every act of generosity is a deposit into the invisible bank that pays interest greater than any earthly account. The farmer does not mourn the seed he scatters on the soil. He knows it will come back multiplied as harvest. In the same way, every gift you release is a seed that ensures future abundance. Many live in fear, clutching tightly to what they have, saying, "If I give, I may not have enough left for myself." But the truth is the opposite. It is withholding that creates shortage. The hand that is clenched in fear cannot receive. The closed fist cannot be filled. Only the open hand can be replenished. By giving, you prove your trust in the invisible bank. You demonstrate faith that your supply is endless, and the law of circulation rushes to honor your faith with more. Even your words and thoughts circulate. What you send into the world returns to you. Speak kindness, and kindness flows back. Speak abundance, and abundance returns. Speak bitterness, and bitterness revisits your door. Life echoes back what you release. The invisible bank records every outflow, whether in words, actions, or gifts, and ensures that each one finds its way back to you, multiplied. Gratitude itself is a form of circulation. When you give thanks, you are not only receiving, you are returning. You are sending appreciation back to the source, and in that exchange the flow strengthens. Those who give thanks see more to give thanks for, because gratitude keeps the current alive. Ingratitude closes the circuit, but gratitude keeps it wide open. The law of circulation also teaches that money is not your master. It is your servant. Money is simply a tool of exchange, a symbol of flow. If you fear it, chase it, or hoard it, you enslave yourself. But if you see it as energy, moving through your hands to bless others and bless yourself, it becomes a joyful current. It comes, it goes, it returns, always circulating like the tide. You need not fear its departure, for it always flows back to the one who trusts the law. Consider this: when you breathe, you must exhale to inhale again. If you hold your breath, clinging in fear, you suffocate. So it is with supply. You must let it out to let it in. Giving is the exhale, receiving is the inhale. Both are necessary to live. Both are parts of the same rhythm. To block one is to block both. Now, giving is not only about money. It is about time, encouragement, love, kindness, service, and even forgiveness. Every gift, material or immaterial, enters the circulation. A kind word spoken today may return as favor tomorrow. A generous act may come back as opportunity. A seed of encouragement may blossom into a door of blessing years later. Nothing is lost in this law. Everything circulates and multiplies. Fear will always try to argue against circulation. It says, "Keep what you have, for tomorrow may bring lack." But faith replies, "Tomorrow holds even more, for the invisible bank cannot be emptied." Fear says, "If you give, you will have less." Faith answers, "If I give, I open myself to more." Fear clings to what is seen. Faith trusts what is unseen. The law of circulation is activated only by faith, for faith alone has the courage to release. To live by this law is to live in peace. You no longer cling to possessions as though they are your security. You know your security is in the invisible bank, whose treasures never run dry. You give joyfully. You receive gratefully, and you watch the current of abundance flow steadily through your life. You stop asking, "What if I lose?" and start declaring, "Whatever I give returns multiplied." So let this truth settle into your heart: prosperity is not about holding, it is about flowing. The more you circulate, the more alive your supply becomes. The more you bless others, the more blessings flow back to you. The more you trust the current, the more powerful it grows. The law of circulation is eternal. It cannot be broken, it cannot be stopped. You may resist it, but you cannot escape it. Whatever you send out, whether fear or faith, lack or abundance, bitterness or kindness, will return to you multiplied. Choose today to release only what you want multiplied in your life. Circulate joy, circulate abundance, circulate love, and watch as heaven honors every seed with a bountiful harvest. Live in this rhythm. Exhale freely, inhale gratefully, and trust the eternal current of supply. For as long as circulation continues, you will never know lack. The invisible bank of God is always full, its vaults overflowing, its supply without measure. Yet many live as though they are cut off, struggling in lack, weighed down by need. Why? Not because the supply has run dry, but because fear and doubt have built walls that block the flow. Fear and doubt are the only true obstacles to prosperity. They are thieves that rob your faith. Close your hands and silence your declarations of abundance. Until they are cast out, your account in the invisible bank cannot flow freely into your visible life. Fear whispers in the dark. There is not enough. It shows you the empty purse, the unpaid bill, the uncertain future, and demands that you believe in shortage. Doubt joins its voice and says, even if supply exists, it will not come for you. Together, fear and doubt weave a web of illusion, blinding you to the truth that supply is already present, already yours, already prepared. They are shadows without substance, but shadows can look real when you face them without light. The first work of fear is paralysis. It grips the heart, freezes the mind, and causes you to hold tightly to what little you see. It tells you not to give, not to trust, not to move, because danger might be ahead. But in holding tightly, you block the very circulation that brings more. Fear closes the fist, and the closed fist cannot receive. Fear closes the mouth, and the closed mouth cannot declare abundance. Fear closes the eyes, and the closed eyes cannot see opportunities already before you. Doubt works differently. Doubt does not paralyze, it corrodes. It eats away at faith slowly, like rust on iron. You may speak words of abundance, but doubt quietly adds. But what if it doesn't work? You may step forward in faith, but doubt whispers, what if you fail? And so your faith, though strong at first, becomes weakened, divided and uncertain. A divided mind cannot receive. As it is written, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Doubt creates instability, shaking the foundation of faith, and leaving your words unsigned in the invisible bank. Fear and doubt are illusions, but they gain power when you believe them. They are like scarecrows in a field, lifeless, powerless, but designed to look intimidating. From a distance, the farmer's child may tremble, thinking it a man. But the farmer laughs, for he knows it is stuffed with straw. In the same way, fear and doubt appear large, but they are empty. Once you shine the light of truth on them, you see them for what they are. Shadows with no power of their own. The only antidote to fear and doubt is faith. Faith is light, and light dissolves shadows. The moment you turn your attention from appearances to truth, fear loses its grip. The moment you declare, my supply is secure in spirit, doubt has no more argument. Faith stands tall, unshaken, unbothered by illusions, and demands that the invisible bank release its treasures. Fear also thrives in imagination. It paints pictures of failure, ruin, loss, and disappointment. It causes you to live tomorrow's troubles today. But faith also uses imagination, and it paints pictures of abundance, provision, open doors, and answered prayers. The question is, which imagination will you serve? Fear imagines lack. Faith imagines plenty. Doubt imagines delay. Faith imagines perfect timing. You choose which picture you will keep before your eyes. Fear says, there is not enough. Faith replies, my cup overflows. Doubt says, it will not happen for you. Faith declares, what is mine by divine right cannot be withheld. Fear says, the doors are closed. Faith answers, the doors are already open. You cannot stop fear and doubt from knocking on your door, but you can refuse to let them in. They may whisper at the window, but you need not invite them to sit at your table. The moment they arrive, confront them with truth. Speak aloud, fear, you are a liar. Doubt, you have no authority. My supply is endless, my source is eternal, and my inheritance is secure. Words of faith chase out fear and silence doubt. Gratitude is also a mighty weapon against fear and doubt. When you give thanks, you are affirming abundance even before it appears. Fear cannot dwell in a grateful heart, and doubt cannot argue with thanksgiving. Each time you count your blessings, you remind yourself of the evidence of supply already received, and that evidence fuels faith for what is yet unseen. Another key to overcoming fear and doubt is action. Fear thrives on stillness, but faith thrives on movement. Take even a small step in trust, give, bless, declare, act as though the supply is present, and you weaken fear's hold. The moment you move in faith, you prove that you do not believe the lie of lack, and heaven responds to that courage with more supply. Remember, fear and doubt are not realities. They are choices. You can choose to believe in shortage, or you can choose to believe in abundance. You can choose to trust appearances, or you can choose to trust spirit. Every moment is a decision. Will I let fear and doubt close my account, or will I let faith sign my check and release my supply? To live in victory, you must guard your mind as carefully as a banker guards the vault. Do not allow fear-filled thoughts to dwell there, nor entertain the whispers of doubt. Replace them immediately with affirmations of truth. I live in a universe of abundance. My supply is endless. Every need is met. Every door is open. Every blessing is mine now. Speak these words until they become stronger than any shadow of fear. The invisible bank does not close because of fear. It is you who close your account with disbelief. But the moment you cast out fear and anchor yourself in trust, the flow begins again. The moment you choose faith over doubt, the treasures of heaven move toward you. Fear and doubt are powerless once unmasked, but faith is powerful once embraced. So let this be your resolve: I will not be ruled by fear. I will not be shaken by doubt. My supply is secure, my inheritance is certain, and my words are signed with faith. The invisible bank is full, and nothing, not fear, not doubt, not appearances, can stop the flow of abundance into my life. To live in the overflow is to step into a life where worry no longer rules, where lack no longer threatens, and where fear no longer whispers. It is to walk daily in the awareness that the invisible bank of God is not only sufficient for your needs, but abundant beyond measure. Overflow means more than enough, not just enough for today, not just enough for survival, but enough to bless others, to share freely, to give without hesitation, and still have more pouring in. Overflow is the natural state of spirit. Look at creation and you will see this truth everywhere. The ocean does not trickle. It roars in endless waves. The stars do not shine sparsely. They fill the heavens beyond counting. The trees do not yield a single seed. They drop hundreds, each one capable of becoming a forest. Nature lives in the overflow, for spirit is extravagant in its giving. Why then should you expect only just enough? The law of supply does not deal in rations, it deals in abundance. Living in the overflow begins with mindset. You must see yourself as an heir, not a beggar. A beggar hopes for crumbs, while an heir expects inheritance. The invisible bank is not opened by pleading, it is opened by claiming. You are not outside the gates of provision, you are already inside, surrounded by endless treasure. The overflow belongs to you, but you must believe it, expect it, and receive it. When you wake each morning, you have two choices: to rise in worry, or to rise in trust. If you wake asking, "Will I have enough?" you limit yourself. If you wake declaring, "I already live in abundance," you step into overflow. The day then unfolds according to your expectation. Life reflects what you believe. Overflow is not something you chase. It is something you claim by living in harmony with divine supply. Living in the overflow also means releasing the fear of giving. When you know your cup is always full, you do not hesitate to pour into others. You give kindness freely. You give resources gladly. You give encouragement abundantly. And as you give, more flows back to you, for circulation strengthens overflow. The river that overflows its banks is not diminished. It carves new channels, spreading life wherever it goes. So too does your generosity carve new channels of blessing, ensuring that the overflow continues. Gratitude is the attitude that sustains overflow. When you give thanks for every gift, you multiply its value. A grateful heart is a magnet for more. Overflow cannot dwell in ingratitude, for ingratitude closes the circuit. But when you count blessings daily, when you speak words of thanks for both small and great, you keep the gates wide open. You stop looking at what is missing and start seeing what is overflowing. And what you see expands, until your whole life feels like a continual harvest. Overflow also manifests in peace. Those who live in overflow are not anxious about tomorrow. They are not weighed down by what ifs. They know their supply is certain, so they rest even in uncertain times. They live with calm confidence, trusting that provision is already on the way, even if the channel has not yet appeared. They are like the bird who sings in the morning without worrying where its food will come from, for it knows instinctively that the earth will provide. To live in overflow is to live in that same song of trust. Another mark of overflow is joy. When you know your source cannot be emptied, you rejoice even before the manifestation. You laugh in the face of lack, for you know it is an illusion. You celebrate blessings not yet seen, for you know they are already yours in spirit. This joy becomes strength, and strength attracts more good. Joy is both the fruit and the fuel of overflow. Overflow is not only material, it touches every area of life. It is overflowing health, where vitality and strength renew you daily. It is overflowing peace, where calm steadies your heart no matter the storm. It is overflowing love, where your relationships thrive and kindness surrounds you. It is overflowing wisdom, where clarity comes at the right moment and decisions lead you higher. When you align with the law of supply, every part of life moves beyond just enough into more than enough. To live in the overflow, you must train your eyes to see abundance everywhere. See it in the sunrise, which gives beauty freely. See it in the laughter of children, which multiplies joy. See it in opportunities that appear daily, even in small ways. The more you notice overflow, the more you experience it. Abundance is always present. Your awareness of it determines how much you draw. Fear will always try to limit you to scarcity thinking. It says, "Be careful, there may not be enough." But faith replies, "I live in the overflow, and my cup runs over." Fear says, "Take care of yourself first, and maybe you can help others later." But faith declares, "I have more than enough to bless others now." Overflow is fearless, for it knows the source is infinite. Living in overflow means shifting from survival to service. When you are no longer obsessed with meeting your own needs, you are free to focus on blessing others. And in blessing others, your own abundance multiplies. Overflow creates ripples, touching lives far beyond your own, until entire communities are lifted by your faith and generosity. So let your declaration be this: I live in the overflow. My supply is endless. My cup is full and running over. I give freely, I receive freely, and blessings multiply in my life daily. Speak these words until they take root in your heart. Speak them until fear cannot argue. Speak them until every cell in your body vibrates with the truth of overflow. The invisible bank is not rationing your supply. It is waiting for you to live in the awareness of abundance. Do not settle for survival when overflow is your inheritance. Do not shrink back in fear when the storehouses of heaven are wide open. Live boldly, give joyfully, trust fully, and watch as your life rises from enough to more than enough, into the overflow that never ends. We have journeyed through the principle of the invisible bank of God, the eternal storehouse that never runs dry. We have seen how this bank is opened not by earthly effort, but by aligning with divine law. The supply is infinite, always present, and always sufficient for every good desire of the heart. Yet it does not respond to fear, doubt, or begging. It responds to words, faith, gratitude, and expectancy. The truth is simple. You are not meant to live in lack. You are not designed for scarcity or struggle. You are created to live in harmony with an abundant universe, to draw freely from the invisible bank, and to let that abundance overflow into every part of your life. When you speak words of truth, when you affirm supply, you are writing spiritual checks that are guaranteed to clear. Your faith is the signature that validates the transaction. Your gratitude is the seal that keeps the flow open. Remember also the law of circulation. Money, blessings, and opportunities must flow as rivers flow. When you give, you do not lose. You multiply. When you share, you do not diminish. You expand. The hand that opens to give is the same hand that remains open to receive. Fearful hoarding creates stagnation, but generous circulation keeps the current of blessing alive. The obstacles, fear and doubt, will always attempt to shut the door. Fear whispers, "There is not enough." Doubt insists, "It will not work for you." But these voices are illusions. The invisible bank is not controlled by the economy, by governments, or by the opinions of others. It operates under divine law, and divine law is impartial, unchanging, and eternal. It will work for anyone who dares to believe, to speak, and to act in faith. And what is the ultimate goal of this principle? It is not just to meet your needs. It is not only to bring you comfort or ease. The true purpose is overflow, a life so abundant that it spills over into the lives of others. When you live in overflow, your peace becomes a blessing to those in turmoil. Your generosity uplifts those in need. Your confidence inspires those in fear. Your prosperity proves the reality of divine law to those still trapped in lack. So let your life be a testimony of abundance. Wake each morning with expectancy, knowing that provision is already on its way. Speak words of truth throughout the day, affirming that every good thing is flowing to you now. Release your fear of giving, knowing that every seed you plant returns multiplied. And when doubt arises, silence it with faith. The invisible bank of God is never closed. Its treasures are without limit. Its supply is for you now. Not tomorrow, not in some distant future, but in this very moment. Claim it, trust it, live it. Walk boldly into the life of abundance that has always been your inheritance. And as you do, you will find yourself living not in scarcity, not in survival, but in the overflow of divine prosperity that never ends.